Coming up on City Spotlight, it's all things Arthur. We'll talk with the new mayor of Arthur, Randall, and Bob Doan of the Arthur Area Economic Development Corporation about infrastructure and downtown revitalization in Arthur, and the plans moving forward on a possible hotel in Arthur, as well as a career training center in Arthur. And at the end of the program, we will have a feature on the 45th annual Arthur Amish Country Cheese Festival. We're talking Arthur next on City Spotlight. City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com. And thank you to all of you for joining us for another edition of City Spotlight. We've been on location for our last few episodes here on City Spotlight, so we're pleased to be back in the comforts of the studio. And today, we welcome back to the program Arthur, and we have two first-time guests. The new mayor of Arthur, Randall. Welcome, Rod.
Thank you.
And Bob Doan of the Arthur Area Economic Development Corporation. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Pleasure to have Arthur back on and two new guests that hopefully have you on many more times in the future. Since you're both new to the program, let's learn a little bit about yourself. First, Rod, tell us about yourself, please.
Well, I'm a native of Arthur. I was born and raised in Arthur and only was gone a short time while I was continuing my education. I came back and eventually took over my father's business. Our business now is celebrating their 70th year in being in business, and I've always been involved in the community. I've been involved in organizations, served on boards, and it's just my hometown.
And so you chose to run for mayor of the village of Arthur in the spring, and why did you do that?
There were some issues going on at the time that I was deeply involved with and concerned about, and I had been actually subcontracting for the village, and I felt like I could not really participate in local government at that time, but those things changed and it freed it up so that I felt like I could go and I could become involved in the local government.
So the number of years you've been involved in the community, you feel like you have a pretty good grasp of what the Arthur area is about?
Oh, I believe so. Especially, I served 28 years on the library board. I've been president of the Association of Commerce. I've helped run cheese festivals and events like that. And I've really been throughout the whole framework of what makes Arthur tick. And I love the town. Fantastic.
We're glad you're here. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
Bob, can you tell us about yourself, please?
Well, I'm a native of Southern Illinois, but I've been in Arthur. I came there in 1969 to teach. Moved in and out and around, that type of thing. So retired there in '01, and my wife and I enjoy the Arthur community, the pace, everything it has to Arthur offer, and it's just a great community. So that's why we're there.
I love that word you use there, pace, because I can definitely understand what that is. You're a part of the Arthur Area Economic Development Corporation. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Okay. I'm going to refer to it as the EDC.
Like the abbreviation. Thank you.
Less of a mouthful. But it was began in April of 2009, okay. And I joined with them. I'm their first and only employee to this point. I started June 1st of the following year of 2010, so I'm in my 8th year doing this. I'm the Community Development Coordinator for the Arthur area. We define the Arthur area as roughly a 7-mile radius of the village of Arthur. And we have about 450 to 480 businesses within that area. And it's full of challenges and opportunities and rewards. So it's a great thing to do and help and work with businesses.
Fantastic. I want to ask you about a little nugget that I was thinking about when you guys were coming on. And as folks know, Main Street in downtown Arthur, and Arthur is located in 2 counties. So you have to the west Moultrie, to the east Douglas. So how does that work from a financial standpoint that you have Arthur in 2 counties?
In my job position, probably 2 things come to mind. One, there is a different tax rate in one county over the other. I think it's a 1% difference, and that stems from the other part of the picture is the county school facility tax, sales tax of 1% was approved in Douglas County, but not in Moultrie County. And it's a tremendous tool for our schools and we've tried in Moultrie County, did not succeed, and we'll probably try again. It's just I don't understand why it can't pass. Well, I understand why it doesn't, but I'm not understanding that thought. But so those are two largest differences, and then of course voting, who represents you and those type of things.
Ask you a follow-up, Rod.
Well, in some instances, I like the fact that we have two counties. We get attention from both counties. we get involvement with both counties. And on the municipal level, it doesn't create any problems. But we have duplicate governments there that we can draw upon. And there's some slight differences between the way they do things, but I think it's an asset. I think it's fun to be able to draw from both counties.
All right. One thing I might add to that is people don't think of Arthur as a manufacturing type community, but we do have the largest employer in Moultrie County, and we have the largest employer in Douglas County, both within the village limits. So that kind of draws them together and for a common goal there.
All right. Thank you very much. Nice little nugget for those that may have not known that. So thank you. Let's talk about a few things that you guys wanted to bring up about today on today's episode here on Arthur. And let's start with infrastructure. And where do you want to start with that, Rod?
Well, Arthur, as most small communities, are facing a lot of challenges with their infrastructure, their water and their sewer, things like that. And we believe we have the resources and the ability and the capability of our own staff to make a lot of our own infrastructure improvements. But we are entering into a over $3 million infrastructure improvement to our sanitary sewer beginning in 2018. We're using some technology where we can line our sewer lines and line our manholes without doing a lot of digging up and excavating and ruining everyone's yards and the city's property. And that's going to be our first step in major overhaul of our wastewater and our freshwater systems in our community. And that's a big thing.
Okay, so sewer improvements, looking forward to that next year. We've talked the last couple times on this program on Arthur about the Meadowview subdivision on the north end of town. I understand you wanted to say that it's past the most recent phase?
Right, phase 2 is completed. We have actually sold one lot off of that. It's going to be a beautiful addition to the community, and we're excited about it being done. Because of some legalities, we can't offer any more lots for approximately another 5 months. Okay. But after that 5 months is over, then we will be able to sell those lots. And we hope that the public rallies around that. We need housing in our community. Bob knows that we need housing in our community. We need affordable housing in our community. We have a lot of manufacturing jobs, and a lot of those have to commute to work. Those people have to commute. We also have, the village owns a significant area in town that we are also going to issue requests for proposals from contractors to hopefully build some either apartments or multifamily dwellings of some kind, because our need is great in that area.
Very much so.
So there's something you struck there was the number of workers that you have. You want to have more of them living in the community. So where else can you potentially put in the future residential areas? We're talking about the north end of town with Meadowview. Is there other places that you are looking at possibly?
Well, we have been looking.
I know.
It's always difficult to expand your boundaries because we're kind of landlocked to a certain extent with farm ground and things like that. But there are areas that we're looking at that we think we can open up.
Okay. And you had a little side story you wanted to tell me about on the north end of town, some couple of guinea hens causing some...
Well, I'm glad to say that they are safe now and living on a farm outside of town, but they were terrorizing the north end of town. They are very noisy, for one thing, and they can make a lot of noise, and they would chase residents and things like that. And I did put out the order to the police chief that I wanted them taken alive, and they were captured by an Amish farmer with a net, and now they're serving their life sentence out on the farm. But we were glad to get rid of them.
Sounds like a good short film.
I would have liked to have seen the police department when they were trying to chase them down on their own.
Could have been somewhat comical.
It could have been very comical, yeah.
Okay, so from infrastructure and the north end of town, downtown revitalization.
Yes, there are many steps that we're taking, and then I hope that we can take some major steps to downtown revitalization. We have so many visitors, as you alluded to, coming into our community over the course of a year from several nations and all the states in the United States probably. And we are doing cleanup areas that have just cannot receive the attention that they should. The public works people are going in and replacing signs, and we're trying to do sidewalks, and we have major projects on the horizon that we want to start thinking about. We did hire one firm to look at an area that maybe a plaza, maybe a sesquicentennial park area downtown. So that's just really in the infancy stages, but there could be some really interesting things that we could do with that. And Bob's, of course, knows that we need to have a vital downtown.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit, Bob, about the importance of the downtown of Arthur to the success of Arthur, past, present, and moving forward?
Well, our downtown is, as most small towns, is very important, and people like to see activity there and things moving forward. One advantage I think that Arthur has is that we have the main street of town is downtown, and it's a very heavily traveled street, and to both downtown and to the edges. But in the past 5 or 6 years, we've lost probably 10 or 12 businesses, but we've replaced those with about 18 to 20 of them. It's brought a different dynamic to downtown. Many of the new owners are not Arthur residents or Arthur natives, as they have been in the past. So it's given us a different approach to things, but it's very active and it's very important. I've talked to many Amish farmers and Amish residents, and they understand the importance of a vital downtown, that people makes them feel good to be there, that things are happening, and it's not just accidental. It's an effort by the village, by the Association of Commerce, by our Economic Development Corporation, all working together to make those things happen.
So you have a variety of businesses throughout the Arthur area with diversity amongst the people that are running them as well.
Yes,
So it
yes.
brings a nice mixture there. That
Yes.
must be very neat. So we mentioned the foot traffic that Arthur has throughout the year. Is possibility that Arthur, you said maybe a hotel might be in an idea moving forward?
We've got several projects, as we call them, on the drawing board. We have renderings of a hotel. Location is going to be an issue. Right now, we don't have a place. We have a motel with 15 or 16 rooms. This one would not be a chain. We want one with a kind of an Amish motif, if you will. Okay. As appearance, I've told people many times, people want the appearance when they come to the hotel, but once they get inside the four walls, they want the amenities of a nice motel, which we would have. But we want one large enough that can accommodate a tour bus, because we don't have that capability right now. And then we have to change the attitude. So many people, when they come to Arthur, they'll come multiple times, but they just stay during the day. Mm-hmm. And it's a tremendous economic impact if you can get those people to stay overnight with meals and lodging and those type of things.
That could be a major asset moving
Yes.
forward. So from a hotel to a career training center, what can you tell us about that?
This idea came from our superintendents, both Travis Wilson and Kenny Swingle, who's our current superintendent. We have a lot of manufacturing jobs in our community. We have over 2,000 jobs, and many of them go unfilled because of the lack of personnel or the lack of training. And so we're working with some of our local businesses to develop a career training center, which will be primarily used by the school during the day. Off hours, it could be used by any business that wants to train people there. It's just a matter of finding an acceptable location. I think the program and the operation of the facility, that's pretty well taken care of. It's just finding where we can put that facility.
Okay, so location, like the hotel, still
Yes.
to be determined. You got to work some things out.
Yes.
So, but would be two great additions to Arthur. So we did mention the foot traffic, and I had a front row seat to the Arthur fireworks in early July, and something that keeps on getting bigger and bigger. And I don't know if the word better, or if there's a word to describe amazing, I guess that would be a good word. But do you step back and look at just how big this thing has gotten? Because there are estimates of local authorities from Mark Jones, who runs the fireworks, that there were nearly 100,000 people maybe in the area. Do you step back and say, wow, look at Arthur, they're bringing this kind of people to our community?
Well, not only people, but just awareness of the community, because as I go to municipal meetings and things like that out of town, the first thing that they say, hey, how were those fireworks? They said those were really spectacular. They'd either been there or somebody had told them about it, or they watched it on YouTube or whatever. So actually, after the 4th of July, for several months, when I go any place, the center of topics about Arthur is the fireworks now. It used to be the Cheese Festival. It used to be the Amish. And now they're talking about the fireworks because it has become quite a special event in our community.
And we're going to have in our next segment, we're going to head out to the Cheese Festival, which is a few days after we're taping here. We're taping here on August 30th. Let's talk about festivals just for a second, because Arthur does have many festivals, and you alluded to how people were talking about the Cheese Festival, and now it's the fireworks. But either one of you, Arthur's success based upon all these festivals that you guys have throughout the year.
One of the things that I would like to mention in this segment is when people come to Arthur, they always associate the word quality with it, whether it is a quality visit, quality service, quality product, whatever it is. And I will say that our fireworks they've meshed in with that. They do that. The Rotary Club, the Arthur Rotary Club does that. They've done a tremendous job with them, and we're working with them to try to determine the economic impact that has on Arthur. We don't know, there's so many of them that come and leave and that type of thing. They actually don't come in town and do business there. But so we're working on that. But I think people they have high expectations when they come of something's going to be nice and quality and respectful and that type of thing. And so the Association of Commerce does a great job of putting on these festivals, starting with the Strawberry Jam and with the Cheese Festival coming up now this weekend. It looks like the weather's going to be great. Anytime you're outdoors, it's the weather issue, and so we'll see if Harvey plays a role in that or not. But and then we have the Barbecue Fest later on in the fall, and then our Christmas events and Pumpkin House and those type of things. All that's done through the Association of Commerce. They do a great job. And I want to mention Christy Miller, our tourism director, because she does a great job of representing Arthur throughout the state and the region. And like Rod, when you go to meetings outside of the village and you're representing Arthur, it's always a positive feedback that we get. And I credit our approach to having quality in what we do and what we sell and those type of things, and just the overall experience. So, and Christy's a big part of that, as is the Association of Commerce and our Economic Development Corporation.
Well, some of the comments that I get also is that there's always something going on in Arthur. How do you do that? How do you sustain that? There's always something going on. And it's true, we have a lot of dedicated people that work extremely hard to keep things going on in the community, because there are not very many weekends when you can't find something to do in Arthur. You're talking about quality. Another word that Christy uses a lot for our events is authentic. Okay. We use that in our tourism a lot, that we are in our advertising. This is an authentic destination. We're nothing fancy or glitzy or anything like that. You can come here and you can have a wholesome, nice experience, whether it's at the Pumpkin Patch or Aikman's Amish Adventures, and just downtown Arthur. And your pace, we mentioned the pace to begin with. You can have a much more leisurely pace and just enjoy what happens.
So pace, authenticity, quality, things, and look forward to checking out in our next segment. We'll have the sights and sounds from Saturday's events. A lot of things going on there with the Cheese Festival.
Sure.
So I thank both of you guys for coming on the program. The Mayor of Arthur, Rod Randall, and Bob Doan of the Arthur Area Economic Development Corporation. It's been a pleasure having you both on. Thank you.
Thank you for having
Appreciate
us.
it.
Yeah.
And next, here on City Spotlight, we'll head out to the 45th Annual Arthur Amish Country Cheese Festival with sights and sounds from that activities on that Saturday. But first, let's take a look at some of the upcoming activities going on in Arthur.
Here's a core for the mayor to try.
Well, we'll see. It smells like latex glove. Let's see. That's very good cheese. Very good cheese.
In 1898, the community Arthur was here, and there was a men's business group that got together and decided they needed to have some reason for people to come to Arthur. At that time, people would take the trains and go out to Arthur to different events and such. They said, well, we need them to come here. We need to promote our businesses that are here. So they started having different events. Most of those things were in the spring. I understand they did things like fireworks and big sales and such. Well, in 1973, this town got to celebrate 100 years. And they had a huge celebration for it. And it was so good. It went over the span of like 5 days, where the festival is just 3 days. But it brought so many people to town and so many visitors to town and was great for businesses, they decided they just wanted to keep that momentum going. And so the fall festival began then. And then after a few years, it actually became the Cheese Festival because there was a cheese factory here in town, and that same group of businessmen, which is now known as the Arthur Association of Commerce, who still sponsors this festival today, they got together and decided they'd base it around the Cheese Festival. The cheese factory was always celebrating an anniversary at that time, so it was a great way to market and such, and combine the two things together, their anniversary and a fall celebration, and it just grew from there. And so after that, they keep adding family-friendly games, because that's what it is all about here, is having lots of fun over the weekend, inviting people in, giving them lots of good things to do. We have 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And we find that all 3 days are very, very different in atmosphere. Saturday is a great family day. And because they're so different, you could come all 3 days and experience different things, because we do have different events. On Saturday, it is the car show, and we have the opening cheese celebration, and the games and such, and the parade. On Sunday, it's a little bit more laid back. On Monday, we have race day, I kind of call it. We'll have a big 5K, 10K race that starts very early in the morning. So you have to be here at 7 in the morning to do that. That would be one advantage to having a hotel. People could come spend the night, because we do draw from Bloomington and Charleston and Indiana even to come to that race. The days are very different. There's lots of vendors and food and such every single day. There's a lot of hometown people that will have different fundraisers throughout the event. Today alone, there was a pancake breakfast by the firemen. There's the Methodist Church, which will have a ham and bean dinner. There is the Christian Church is having an ice cream social. The Lions Club will be having a breakfast on Monday. Those are all fundraisers that those people use to funnel back into the community through many, many different ways of supporting community events throughout the year. Sometimes it's donations, and sometimes it's providing other things for the families to do, or visitors as they come into this town. So it helps keep our businesses thriving. You may not come to buy furniture while you're here today, but you're definitely going to see some beautiful handmade quality pieces, and you're going to want to come back and see what else. So today just gives you a sampling, and then you get to come back. And that's why that motto on the sign as you come to town, Arthur, you're a stranger only once, goes on and on and on.
Here we go. There we go. Ooh, 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 ooh.
want another one? I'll try it again. Oh, I'm gonna take it. Oh, well, that makes 11. Here we go. Oh. All right. Oh, good job. Oh. Now that is some of the finest broom work I've seen in a long time. Good job.
We like to have something that was really special, so we designed some games. About 1999 is when they did the first cheese curling game, which is very similar to curling that you'd see in the Olympics. It was kind of based around that idea. And so they take a 4-pound wheel of cheese and they roll it down a long track. And to get to a bullseye. These are teams of 4 people, okay? And you try to brush it and get it to the target spot. And of course, the team that actually gets the closest to the target and gets the most points, they're the winner. And they actually get to take their cheese home with them. So it's always a lot of fun to do that.
All right, we got 1, 6,
Cheese eating is exactly that. That's a huge event. Now you might see that one somewhere else, but you won't see cheese curling in any other festival. And they group in different categories. We have a young man from Tuscola who has won that cheese eating adult category for several years. Then also on Sunday, we have incorporated cheese carving. So we have, it's about limited to 10 people. They're given 30 minutes and block of cheese to carve whatever they want out of it. So that's kind of fun too. The start time is 3:45 this year, and that's because we're celebrating 45 years as a festival. 2 years ago, it was at 3:43, and next year we know the start time is going to be at 3:46. So the start time is in the afternoon, and it's always based on the year that we are celebrating for our anniversary, so it's easy to keep track of. The thing I think I enjoy the most is lots of good festival food, but then also just getting to meet a lot of different people through it. I do happen to be the coordinator for the race that's here, and I get to meet a lot of people, but we always have a lot of the same people come back. It might be the only time I get to really see and chat with them from one year to the next, so it's always great.
A winner right here. All right.
Yay!
All right.
I'm never eating cheese again.
City Spotlight is supported by Consolidated Communications. CCI is honored to salute the cities and their leaders in the area, as well as providing TV, internet, and phone service to local homes and businesses. We live where we work and are proud to support the communities we serve. More information available at consolidated.com.